Now, Lowcountry Forever, a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.
There's a list that has more than 100,000 names on it, and it grows every 10 seconds. That's the Transplant list. Are we in a crisis situation with the Transplant list? We very well may be, which is why we're talking to the co-founders of Transplant Warrior 24/7. I'm Brian Cleary. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking with Joe Bueno, who is the co-founder and president of the organization, and Maureen Cardell, who's the co-founder and executive director. Joe, let's start with this. Explain in a basic way as possible to people exactly what Transplant Warriors 24/7 is.
Transplant Warriors 24/7 is an outlet for people who are on dialysis or liver transplant, heart transplant, whatever transplant you're really looking for. We walk you through the whole transplant process. We want to make sure that we as a team are there for each one of whoever wants help. And when I was going through 7 years of dialysis, there was never help for me at the time. And 24 hours a day means I'm for you for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can always get a hold of us. There's no way you don't have to get a hold of us.
Now, Maureen, you and Joe have both been through the same things, different though, but you've actually been through the transplant process. What can you tell us about your story, how that came about?
I had a liver transplant in 2018. Mine was very fast, a lot different than Joe's story. I had NASH disease, was found out very suddenly and unexpectedly for me. And within a matter of months, I was put on the transplant list and just waited. And by November of 2018, I got the call, that they found a donor match for me. So yeah, it was very unexpected. Went through that process really quickly. But what I want to let people know is, to talk to your doctors. If there's any thought in your head, there's testing that they can do. I had no idea I had any issues at all until they told me, that's it, you have to go for a transplant.
We'll talk about that a little, Maureen, and hopefully the number will get lower and lower and lower, but not many people have sat down with a doctor and been told, you need a transplant.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that's like when the doctor says it. How were you able to handle that?
Not very well at first. Thank God I did have a good support system. I went in, actually started a new job and had to get blood work done. And within a matter of weeks after that blood work, I started showing signs of jaundice. I was turning yellow, very nauseous and sick. And my doctor sent me for further testing. And eventually it was probably from January of 2018 to June of 2018, I got all these tests done and a biopsy eventually, which they said you had full cirrhosis of your liver. And I never had any other doctor tell me that prior to that.
Wow.
Was living a normal life, raising 3 kids, trying to get back into a job. And, I'd stayed home with my children.
So on one hand, you got a diagnosis that hopefully no one ever else has to hear, but you also got something else that even fewer people get. And I can't imagine what it's like to be on the other end of the telephone when you answer and they say, we have a liver for you.
Yeah, that was very surreal. That, of course, it comes at like 3 a.m. when you're barely coherent.
It's a great phone call.
It's an awesome phone call. I woke my whole house up like it was a party. I was very excited. Little did I know I only had a couple weeks left. Really, they told me, I was blessed to get that call because my other organs were starting to shut down. So yeah, it was a very surreal moment. I was very grateful.
It all goes in slow motion, really. I mean, when I got my call, I waited 7 years for my call. And when I finally got it, I didn't believe it. I actually hyperventilated it on the table before I even got my transplant. They were like, Joe, you need to calm down, breathe. I'm like, it's been 7 long years to actually get this call. I'm here on the table. And I was like, you know what? Just put me out. Let's go.
Joe, part of your story is the fact that you were called a couple of different times. And if you could focus on one that really stands out to me, the 6th time you went in and they said, hey, we think we've got something for you, you actually walked away from that one. Tell that story if you would.
I actually got the call for UNC Chapel Hill, and we drove up there, went through the whole process, and for some reason the transplant patients were all together, and that never happens. But I guess they were busy that day, and there was a 17-year-old kid, and the parents were telling the doctor that he wasn't taking to dialysis well, and you can actually see it, and you saw it on his face. And it gets uptight every once in a while, every time I have to talk about it. But I told my doctor, I was like, this kidney's not mine, it's his. And I'm walking away from this. And he was like, Joe, you're 98% match, you're guaranteed a kidney. I said, my kidney will go to him. And I have no regrets about it. I signed myself out and I walked away. Wow. It wasn't my time. I'd rather have given it to a younger kid. I lived my life at that time. And if anything should happen, you know what? I'm blessed. I was blessed enough to be there. and he needed to live his life now. That's why I chose, and that's why I walked away.
We're talking with Joe Bueno and also Maureen Cardell. They are the co-founders of Transplant Warriors 24/7. Now, Joe, as we move forward, what is the biggest issue right now in terms of needs when you talk about transplants?
Right now for us is actually getting more. I like to help as many more people as I can. Right now, we're actively with 60 people, and it's great, and they're all over the country, even in London. But we definitely want to build a base here and getting sponsorships. I mean, that's a really tough battle for us because I've had 4 successful businesses and never had to ask any help for anything. And now I'm at a position where I have to ask for help, and I just don't know how to do it.
And Maureen, the help that you guys are looking for, what exactly would that be? Is it volunteer time? Is it monetary donations? What is it that can help Transplant Warriors 24/7?
Yeah, I mean, the volunteers that we have now are actually transplant recipients themselves. They've gone through the process, and they always end up coming back like we did after having a transplant. How can I help? So we have people that have gone through the process and received their transplant, and they come back and help. They answer emails, or we get them in touch with the people that are, have questions, need help. Yeah, monetary donations, that's been, especially since COVID hit, that's been really hard to come by. Obviously money's tight, and, but just to help us get ourselves out there to help more people, that would be a wonderful thing.
Joe, fight to live, live to fight.
That means that I fought to live to fight for you. People choose to let their diseases define who they are. I won't do that. I've been through cancer, 4 heart attacks, a stroke, a major bleed out, died 9 times in 15 years, and been transplanted, and 7 years of dialysis. There's nothing that will define me but me. And those are things I had to do to survive, but that's all it was. It was a chapter in a story, and that's all it is.
And so it's safe to say what Transplant Warriors 24/7 is really focused on is the people who are getting transplants or are in that, I don't know what you call it, I guess a transition period while you're waiting, and those are the folks you're trying to help?
We're trying to help everyone, but the people on dialysis especially, because they have to be at a certain weight, they have to be at, everything's different for dialysis because they have dialysis to survive. I'm personally going there, asking them to walk, exercise, and get all that done. And within 30 days of working with me, as long as you give you 100%, I will get you to the transplant list. I will get you to that transplant goal that you're looking for. But you got to work hard for it. Nothing in this life is easy. And if you're willing to do the hard work, I'm willing to support you all the way through.
Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking with Maureen Cardell. She is the executive director, and Joe Bueno, who is the president of Transplant Warriors 24/7. According to the statistics, 3 in 1,000 people die in a way that allows for their organ donation. Obviously, we need people to want to donate. What is it that you could talk to people about who are listening that may move them forward? Because some people are just, for whatever reason, afraid. They don't want to check off that box. What is it that we can tell people so that they know that their gift, their sacrifice will mean something?
It's the easiest thing to do, to check off that box and choose to be a donor. The way I've always looked at it, and I know Joe is too, we can't take it with us when we go. So to be able to leave behind, donors could save up to 70 people between tissues and, there's so many different things that are donated when a person passes. And, it's awful for the family that's left behind to lose that person, but to know that their body is going to be used to help others survive is an amazing thing. We have a couple of people on our page who have gotten in touch with their recipient's family or their donor's family. Yeah, Joe actually received a letter from his donor's mother. I mean, it's a bittersweet, or what else they call it, a double-edged sword. It's a sad loss, but yet that your loved one, nothing went to waste. They were able to help others.
And their memory could live on.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's an issue that's tough to go down that road maybe sometimes because it is a sensitive subject. Could you share a little bit about what that was like, being able to have contact with that family?
It was actually, I'm very proud of it. Her name's Kelly. Kelly was a 40-year-old young woman who had a massive stroke 2 weeks after her 9-year-old's birthday. So she had 3 boys, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 20-year-old at the time. It was 4.5 years ago. And a husband. She had a massive stroke and died. And what got me to start Transplant Warriors 24/7 was my doctor was up at UNC Chapel Hill. Probably about a year prior to my transplant, they were like, Joe, you need to become a transplant coach. You could help so many people with your story. Your story is remarkable. And to be honest with you, I told him no. I said, I'm not ready for this. The day I got transplanted and getting her letter from her mom made all the difference. I can't see myself doing anything else. I honestly can't. I love the effects of everything that I've gone through for each warrior, and each warrior is different. For every transplant journey I've been on, it's remarkable getting that phone call and saying, Joe, listen, I just got the call. And 8 hours later, getting another phone call saying, I could have done it without you. Those are great phone calls. And I keep on wanting, every one is like the first one. And it's a blessing.
Maureen, it may be difficult to talk about, but on the other side, you having received someone else's organ, is there a guilt that goes with that? Is it all good feeling? What is it that you're going through and dealing with?
It's hard to explain. It's, you're great. Yeah, it's surreal. You're grateful, but yet I never heard back. I did write my letter, and it's a weird process. You have to write a letter and give it to your transplant team, and then they forward it on. You can't know who your donor was until a certain period of time goes by. So I wrote my letter to them, and yeah, that was a hard letter to write. You have to acknowledge their grief and their loss, but also like express them. Like, I was grateful that, I have 3 children, and, at the age of 41, I was like, I'm not ready to leave my kids. I mean, now they're 13, 15, and 23, but 2.5 years ago, I was like, they're too young. I can't leave them. And yeah, so to express that letter and put down, I think I do have, I don't know what's the word for it.
Remorse.
Like remorse. Yeah. Like I feel almost guilty, survivor's guilt. I feel bad that family had to go through that. Ooh, it is tough to talk about, but I was blessed to still be here.
Joe, Transplant Warriors 24/7 is a nonprofit foundation. How do people get in touch with you?
All right. There's a few ways. We have 2 Facebook pages. We have a website. It's up. But the problem is we can't post anything from the developers. They just stopped working with us and took the money and ran. So now we're trying to find another place. But you can still post on there. You can get my phone number is 973-931-8880. Text is the best way to get a hold of me. You want to call, you might get that chance to get me on the phone, but if not, text is the best way. And I'm here for you, whatever you need. Who gives out their phone number out on a podcast?
And for someone who wants to find you on Facebook, just search Transplant Warriors 24/7?
Yes. We have 2 pages. There's an open page and a closed group. And the closed group is more for the transplant person themselves.
And the caregivers.
And the caregivers, support people. And then the open page is, obviously anybody can find it and, get in touch with us.
And Joe, who would be the most helpful in reaching out to you? Who would you like to hear from?
I would like to hear from everyone. Honestly, I just really want to, I believe this is my purpose. How do you die 9 times and come back from that and go through everything I went through and not be the purpose? So if I can help anyone, please reach out.
Sometimes it's just a conversation. Like you said earlier, getting that diagnosis is a shock. Getting told that you need to get a transplant is, you're kind of in a fog for a little while. Like, it's a life or death thing. And, for kidneys, they have a little bit longer. There's a dialysis that can keep them alive. And, but some people don't have that support system. And that's basically what we want to be here for them, to just let them know, we've been through this. These are the processes, the steps you have to go through. How can we help you understand it? A lot of times it's just not understanding it.
And this is a conversation that you would have with not only the patient, but with their families as well?
Yeah. Caregivers as well. We'll go to their house. We'll sit with them. We've been in a house for 4.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And where the warrior wasn't ready to talk about himself. He talked about everyone else but himself. And I was like, listen, I've been here for 4 hours. You didn't mention yourself once. You're not ready to talk to me yet. You're not ready to go to the next step. When you're ready, call me and I'll be there for you. But you got to be ready to do the work to get there.
And as a nonprofit, Transplant Warriors 24/7 has some needs. Give me some specifics in terms of what someone listening right now could provide you that would help your organization.
We need to raise money. And actually, we have something coming out in September. The best way to motivate people nowadays is money. And I want to do like a percentage of weight loss for each warrior. And, we'll sign them up. We'll get their weight. We'll get everything and make it a competition where there's 3 prizes, $250 for the first place, second place, $150, and $100 for the third place. And I want to do that every 3 months to actually get people motivated to work out and to get things done. And we get them on the list and they can live a healthier lifestyle. I don't want to say diet because this is something that I want them to encourage them to eat healthy, start exercising. Let's get together and let's do this, because really that's the only thing you really need to do to beat dialysis is to get in shape.
So we need people to reach out and speak with you. So why don't you give that phone number again where people could either call or text you?
It's 973-931-8880.
Joe Bueno and Maureen Cardell, the president and executive director of Transplant Warriors 24/7, today on Lowcountry Forever.
The Charleston Radio Group is the Lowcountry. Every week, we highlight local organizations and events that are helping to make a difference here where we live. If you have a group, event, or an idea to feature on Lowcountry Forever, let us know. Visit lowcountryforever.com and click on our podcast link for contact information. Now, Lowcountry Forever continues.
This fall, a big event happens in the Lowcountry, and not that I'm trying to rush summer along, but it's one that you might want to be a part of. After all, it helps the Lowcountry community. I'm Brian Cleary. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking about Lowvelo. The first thing you might be thinking is, what is Lowvelo? Well, we've got the person with the answer. The event manager, Rachel Haney, joins us on Lowcountry Forever. Rachel, what is Lowvelo?
So a little bit about Lowvelo. Our mission is to create a community-wide movement through a fundraising cycling event and weekend celebration that empowers life-saving cancer research right here at MUSC Hollings Cancer Center. And we are so excited to be back in action on November 6th with our new start line at the Citadel, starting in Haygood Stadium. Our routes are going to take you downtown, over the Ravenel Bridge and into Mount Pleasant and ending on IOP.
And so just so everybody listening knows, when you say cycling, we're not talking about motorcycling, we're talking about bicycling.
That's correct, yes. But new this year, we also have the stationary cycling classes that will be on Isle of Palms at the Finish Festival.
And the event is a benefit for the MUSC Hollings Cancer Center, and it's an event that's good for families, right? Everyone of all ages?
Yep, 10 and up. So we have our new island ride, which is 10 miles, and that's going to start on Isle of Palms, riding over to Sullivan's Island, looping back, and we're all finishing for a fun Finish Festival block party on Isle of Palms.
And people listening may be going, wow, 100 miles or even 10 miles. Maybe they're not in shape right now, but we've got the whole summer. So what we thought we'd do is we'd talk to someone who has participated in the event back in 2019. Marinelle Goldsby joins us. Marinelle, first of all, how is it that you came to get involved with Lowvelo?
I was a cancer patient. So in 2019, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Wow.
And I had a big surgery, a Whipple surgery, and was on chemo. And at Hollings Cancer Center, I read about the ride. I had never ridden more than 13 miles on a road bike, but I had a Peloton and I loved to ride, and I was looking for something to challenge myself. So I signed up for this bike ride, and I had plans of riding 50 miles, and halfway through I said, what the heck, I'm going to do 100. So I rode the 100 miles. I think it was 8 months after my surgery and just a couple of months after I finished chemotherapy. We didn't get to participate last year, but I cannot wait for the ride this year, and it's such a worthy cause to raise money for cancer research.
People listening are going to go, what could have been going on in your head? You're supposed to ride and you said, no, I'm going to double the distance. What is it that took over that made you say, I'm going for it?
I knew that there were people suffering with cancer who would have given anything to be out on their bike that day, even to just do the 25-mile ride, which was the shortest ride that year. And I thought, you know what? If I can ride 100 miles, how many people will I motivate and help give some sort of encouragement to as they battle their fight with cancer? I hope I achieved that.
I can't imagine how much better maybe it felt. I mean, you would have felt great finishing either way, but knowing that you went that extra distance.
I was so proud of myself, but I also knew that my family would be. And, you know, it's not just the person who has gone through cancer, but it's their family and their loved ones who probably really suffer the most because they are so concerned and they want to help and they feel like they can't. But when you watch your family member who has just beat cancer finish a 100-mile bike ride, I think that does give them a lot of hope.
Inspiration, no doubt about it. We're talking about Lowvelo, the bike ride for cancer research that'll be coming up this November today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by the event manager, Rachel Haney, and also Marinelle Goldsby joins us. And Marinelle, you as a cancer survivor, you went through this tough experience at the MUSC Hollings Cancer Center. Can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you?
MUSC and Hollings Cancer Center managed to diagnose my cancer and have me in the hospital having my surgery within just a couple of weeks. So they were so aggressive in my treatment, and I truly believe that they saved my life. I know there's always a chance of recurrence, and that is another concern that's always in the back of your mind as a cancer survivor. But I always have the team at Hollings Cancer Center to reach out to, and they reassure me of my concerns. They regularly screen me, and it's just it really does give you a lot of comfort to know that they care so much and that they're always there for you, even down the road once you've beat cancer. So if somebody can find a cure for cancer, then people like me won't have to have those concerns anymore. So that would be wonderful.
So what did the team say? What did your doctors think when 8 months after you were done with your treatments, you told them, hey, I'm sure you told them before that, but what was the response when you said, I'm going to get on this bike and do this ride thing?
Oh, I think the entire team at the end of the ride was there crying right along with me and happy tears because they were so proud that I was able to do that. But they probably thought I was crazy to begin with, but I do believe that they were all very proud of me and excited just to be able to share my story with people who are going through the same thing that I have in the past with a cancer diagnosis. It does, I think, give you some hope that just, stay positive if you can and try to set some maybe major goals and have that to look forward to as you go through that battle.
Rachel, we had to skip a year. A lot of things got skipped over the last 12, 14 months because of the pandemic, but we've reset. And I guess in some ways, the 2021 event will be bigger, better, more exciting than even back in 2019.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The first year was great, Brian. We had just over 600 riders that first year, and our riders raised nearly $700,000 that went right to Hollings for cancer research. So this year, our goal is 1,000 riders. We are well on our way. We have over 400 now. And we've changed it up to make it a little bit more accessible to everyone. So we've lowered that fundraising minimum. So our new 10-mile route, the Island Ride, we have a fundraising minimum now of $300. The stationary classes, that'll be $350. The 22-mile route at $500. The 57-mile route at $1,000, and the 100-mile route will be $1,500.
And the thing we can't stress enough is how much money is going back, because participant raised dollars go right where you say they're going.
Yep, 100% of the rider raised dollars go right to cancer research.
It's certainly got to be challenging putting on an event of this size. There's got to be a lot of satisfaction because you're helping people, but I have to assume that you are also getting help from inside the community.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of community support for this event, thanks to our presenting sponsor, the BMOC Foundation, and our other sponsors as well, including First Capital Bank. And also we partnered with Firefly, and they're going to host our packet pickup. Another partner is Johnson & Johnson Insurance. We've had a lot of great support in the community.
If there's someone listening who maybe owns a business, has some tie to a corporation or something, and they think they might want to find out about being a sponsor of the event, what should they do?
Lowvelo.org. All that information is on our website.
And the other thing, people, I'm assuming, can go there in terms of, okay, I want to be a part of this event. I want to register. That would be step one?
Yes. As well, I want to mention our home team option for people that might not be comfortable participating yet or are not in South Carolina to participate in person for the event. They can also participate in our home team virtual option. That way they can clock their miles, whether it be riding, running, walking, swimming, any way they want to do that physical activity to get their miles in.
And with the home team option, are we still talking about doing it on that day? Many virtual events have branched out and said, we'll give you a window of opportunity for you to get all those miles in.
Yep, they have a window of opportunity. I believe they have right past November 6th to get those miles in. But the fundraising minimum is associated with that as well, as long as they reach their fundraising minimums.
We are talking Lowvelo. It's an event coming up November 6th here in the Lowcountry, the Bike Ride for Cancer Research, benefiting the MUSC Hollings Cancer Center. And along with us, a participant from 2019 and a cancer survivor, Marynell Goolsby. And Marynell, so talk about the summer summer before you rode and what you might have done to help get yourself ready for the Lowvelo you participated in.
I was going through chemotherapy at the time, so I did ride my Peloton at home. I didn't do a lot of training, though. I really decided I was going to go out and ride in this bike ride. And I think a lot of it's mental when you do something of that distance. A couple of months before, I had swam in the Ironman relay. I did a relay with my son and my brother, so I'd done a 2.5-mile swim. But because I was on chemo, I was not able to do any really strenuous training. So anybody can do it.
Well, Marinelle, you're certainly proof of that. I think you're inspiring people, but with the inspiration label, sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. But for you, you are an inspiration. You're okay with that?
That's what I hope. I really do. If I can change just one person's life by giving them some hope that they can achieve greater goals than they had ever dreamed of, even after going through a cancer diagnosis and all that's involved with that, then I'm going to be happy with myself. I would love to be able to motivate and inspire other people.
What is it that made you go to your doctor, or was just a regular checkup? How was it that you were diagnosed?
I woke up on January 2nd of 2019 after having had absolutely no symptoms ever in my life. And I had jaundice, I had itching hands, I had several symptoms. I work in a doctor's office. I manage a medical facility, and we're probably the worst patients, people who work in healthcare. But so I waited several days, and finally I went to one of the physicians in my office and I said, something's wrong. And they sent me right away for a test. But I literally woke up on January 2nd and had symptoms.
And if we look at the good side of things, I guess, at least it was a somewhat compacted time frame, that it wasn't years that you were dealing with this or anything.
No, they said it was growing for probably over 20 years.
Wow.
So because the first thing you ask is, well, what did I do to cause this? How could I have avoided this? And the answer was there was nothing that I probably did or could have changed. That it started in my late 20s, and I eventually was diagnosed with cancer. And fortunately, I did have symptoms. And so mine was able to be diagnosed early enough that I believe I really will not have a recurrent. I think there's 18 to 24% of people who have had my type of cancer who don't have a recurrence and survive past 5 years. And I am positive that I will be in that percentage.
So what we want to do is get to the goal of 1,000 riders. So Marinelle, maybe you can make a pitch for us. Someone listening today should be participating in this event because
everybody at some point in their life is unfortunately going to be touched by cancer, whether you're diagnosed or a friend or a loved one is diagnosed. And it's a great cause. It's also fun. So you get to have fun and you get to raise money for cancer research. This year, I've opted to only do the 10-mile ride because I've done the 100, been there, done that. And my goodness, we're going to party on Isle of Palms all day. So I want to finish up early and join the party. So just sign up for the 10-mile ride if you don't think that 50 or 100 is for you. Start now, challenge yourself, and do it because it's the right thing to do. You can raise money for cancer research. And if you don't believe that you can ride, and there may be a very good reason that you can't, you can volunteer. So everybody can be a part of this.
So Rachel, we want to get as many people involved as we can, hit that 1,000 mark. So tell people what they need to do to register and what their options are in participating in this year's Lowvelo.
So we have a ride option for everyone. We have the family ride on Isle of Palms. It's the 10-mile route. It's going to go from Isle of Palms to Sullivan's and loop back to Isle of Palms. We also have our stationary cycling classes. That's a new option this year as well. We partner with Pivotal for those classes. We have the 22-mile route. We have a 57-mile route, and we have a 100-mile route. And everyone can register at lowvelo.org.
And we'll be starting this year. The longer runs will be down from the Citadel.
That's correct, starting at Haygood Stadium.
So, Marinelle, you say you'll do the 10-mile run, but will that end up being the 22-miler, the 100-miler?
I'm going to finish the 10-mile because it starts on Isle of Palms and it ends on Isle of Palms. So I can't change my mind, but it's not a race. We're all just doing this together. Everybody wins.
Simply by being a part of it, you'll be a winner. and so will the MUSC Hollings Cancer Center. Lowvelo coming up this November, but today on Lowcountry Forever.
Thanks for listening to Lowcountry Forever. If you missed any of this week's show, there's a complete recording under the podcast link at lowcountryforever.com. Lowcountry Forever is a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.